Hello guys and welcome to the studio. Today's video is going to be all about how I make my watercolour textures and how I put them into Photoshop and make my digital art look more traditional. I really like doing this because I like my art to kind of have a traditional feel, but sometimes I can't always get my traditional watercolours and stuff out because maybe I'm drawing on an iPad or illustrating on Procreate or whatever. So this is how I personally add my watercolour textures. I use watercolour textures for everything. It's also handy if you're a graphic designer. You can add these watercolour textures to like text and things like that, which is super handy if you like that kind of look. So there's two ways of doing it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make the watercolour texture myself, but you don't have to do this. If you don't have any watercolours or any inks or anything like that, you can skip this step entirely and you can go onto a site like Pexels, which is a free, royalty-free photo site, stock photo site, and just type in something like watercolor texture and you can donate to them if you want to help support them, and yeah, you can use this and skip to the stage where I'm gonna explain it. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. So yeah, you can skip that stage if you want. You can also just search royalty-free watercolour textures. You can also go on Etsy and search for packs of watercolour textures that you can download digitally straight away. You purchase on Etsy and you can download them. Just make sure that there's a commercial license or a license included. If it's only for personal work, normally they're okay with that. But if you're going to be selling them as art prints or whatever, I would just double check with that seller to make sure that you're going to get a license with it, because you don't want someone knocking on your door and being like, excuse me, use my texture without reading my description. So just double check the description. Just type in watercolor texture pack or something like that. That is something that I've actually done myself because sometimes I wanted a different watercolour texture and I couldn't be bothered to do the stages that I'm going to get into now. So I also use this method too. But if you want to make your own and be unique and have your own kind of texture packs, let's get into the video and I'll show you how to do it now. Okay, so here is the equipment that I'm going to be using. I have my Langton watercolour pad, which is a cold pressed pad, which is 300 GSM. And I'm just going to use this because I really like the textures of the paper and I like to have the textures come through on this. But you don't have to use something fancy like this because it is only a texture that you're wanting. But this is just what I'm going to be using. You can even use plain paper if you wanted, but the paper may buckle, but that's fine. I've also got my Watercolor Palette here, which needs cleaning, and I actually think it has some gouache on there. If you don't have any watercolours, you can also use something like Indian inks or something like that. This is a Winsor & Newton ink. I'm not going to be using that, I've just got that out as a demonstration. Then you just want a paintbrush and some water. Okay, so I've got my plain paper here and I'm just going to go right in, and I think I'm going to use black. You can use any colour you like because I'll show you. And I'm just going to literally smear it on and do different dabs of water here and there. And I'm just going to create a wash basically. But I want it to be heavily textured, so you can put the water on first and add it, or you can just basically don't worry about it. Just do it how you want. You can do different versions, different styles. But I'm just going to smack it on there like this. And I think that will do, to be honest. But this looks pretty good to me. This is kind of the look that I was going for. Like I say, don't worry about what colour it is because we can change that in Photoshop later. And I'm happy with that. You just need to wait for this to dry, and then you can photograph it or scan it into your computer. So let's wait for it to dry. Another thing that I forgot to mention is you can also add salt. What salt does, it separates the watercolour, so it adds a really nice texture. But I'm just going to stick with this. I think this looks perfect for now. I think it's going to do with for what I need it for. And yeah, I'm just going to wait for this to dry. So how Easy was that. Literally, don't worry about how it turns out. The more textures the better, at least for me anyway. That's what I personally like. Experiment with different colours if you want. Do a few different swatches. I like to do a larger one so I can adjust it smaller and bigger depending on what part of the watercolour I want to use. I could probably use that watercolour over and over and layer it up on my illustration, which I'm going to show you in a bit. So it is just drying near a window. Once it's dry, I'm going to take a photo and I'm going to put it into the computer. All you need to do is take a photo on your smartphone or on a camera or scan it in. I personally prefer to take it on a camera because I like to have the shadow come through of the sunlight and pick up the textures of the paper more. If you scan it into a scanner, the light is more evenly distributed on the scan, so the shadows are eliminated. Obviously, if you've got a good scanner, that's what you want. But I don't like that. I like to have heavy shadows, so I like to take a photo of it to get the paper texture. So yeah, let's wait for it to dry and put it onto the computer. Right, so here we have it. I have my watercolour textures. I literally took this photo with my iPhone, and as you can see I got some close-ups to get the paper grain in, and there we have it. Okay, so here we go. We've got an illustration here that I illustrated on Procreate. The brushes, if you're wondering, I use were wet acrylic and 6B pencil. And I'm going to be selling this. It's an art print in my Etsy store, but I wanted to add this watercolour texture. So let's get into it. Let's see which one I want to use as an example. I think I want to use this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust it first. So if you go over here to the adjustments, you can also find it up here somewhere, and we'll go to curves, and we'll just make sure it's on RGB mode. We're just going to brighten and darken just to make it a little bit more standy outy. Man, why am I teaching people? This is crazy. I hope you learn something from this. So then what we're going to do is we're going to unlock this layer. There we go. And we are going to go to gradient map. So when I said it doesn't matter about what colour you did it, it's because you can change it over here in gradient map. I'm going to stick to black and white, but you could change it to whatever freaking colour you wanted. Can you see? It's really handy, this gradient map tool. This is why I don't mix colours with my watercolour textures, because then it doesn't work as well. But this is a great tool if you wanted to add different styles. So I'm just going to select it as black for now and see how that looks on my illustration. And then I'm just going to go ahead and select it, and I'm going to click copy merged. And then I'm going to go to my artwork. Here is an isolated paint artwork, and it's in a new group. I exported it from Procreate as a PSD so I could open it with layers, and now I'm just copy and pasting this file. Then I'm going to right click above the group which has the layers for my paint, my digital painting on. I'm going to right click and I'm going to select create clipping mask. What that does, as you can see, it locks to the layers and isolates anything else that was around it. So it locks to the digital layers, and as you can see you can move it around and it'll stay locked to those layers underneath it. So I'm sorry if you can hear a hoover, the cleaners are coming. And then all I do is I go to colour burn and I mess around with the settings, and as you can see it gives this watercolory texture to your image, and that's pretty much it. But you can also use different styles like lighten, screen, colour dodge, overlay. Oh my gosh, what an inconvenient time to hoover, lady. And you can just kind of play about with it. Let's see what it would look like if I changed the gradient map. So let's go again to image adjustments, gradient map. Let's click on our gradient, change the end one to white, you don't have to, and let's change this to maybe like a blue or purple. and as you can see, it gives like the watercolour a different tone as I'm moving along these, and it's really, really nice. See, I need to now go in and edit this section because it looks like she's having a period, and I need to erase that from my layer. I also need to erase these little bits that are over here and over here. But yeah, that's basically how I do it. And yeah, I just basically play around with it. I need to adjust this before I put it on my Etsy store, or if your colours are too dark, you can replace the colour, you can adjust them, and kind of just mess around with it until you're happy with how your illustration looks. And that's basically it. That's how I create watercolour textures, and that is how I use them in my work. So yeah, that was basically it. That is how I create, edit and adjust my watercolour textures. Now I'm going to be offering these textures for you guys to download in my Etsy store. I'll leave that in the description below. I'll offer it for super cheap so you can download them instantly. Saves you kind of getting out your watercolour pads and all your paints and doing it yourself. So I'll throw these into a bundle and you can experiment with them and see what you come up with. I would also love to see what you come up with. So tag me in your photos on Instagram. I would love to see how you use these textures, and yeah, and if you make your own, I would love to see what you do with them. So yeah, tag me over on Instagram at Catnip Illustration and I'd like to see them. Thanks very much. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you got some sort of value from it. I know I'm not the best teacher in the world, but I do try, and I know I tend to go off on it a few times, but I just can't help it. It's just who I am, alright? Yeah, so I'll see you in the next video, which is going to be a studio vlog on Tuesday. If you liked this video and you found it helpful, please subscribe and leave a comment below. I read every single one of my comments and they make me so happy. They make all this filming and editing worth it. You can also grab the art print that you've seen on this video in my Etsy store too. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I love you so freaking much. Okay, love you. Bye.